So it's the 1st of January 2022, New Year, um, time to reflect, and hopefully this will be a year in which I start to load up content on a more regular basis and build up my channel. So remember, my channel is called A Wonderful Wonder. So partly because I like the idea of wonder in terms of just experiencing awe or that kind of wow factor, and wonder in the other sense of going walking and exploring. And I do think there is a kind of a link between the two, which, excuse me, is quite cool. Um, but yeah, one of the things that I've kind of used this channel for is to talk about mental health. So I think the most dramatic thing that happened this year, it was quite recent, was I resigned from my job in a call center without another job to go to. I had applied for other jobs and wasn't successful, but I just reached such a low point with my mental health, where I was experiencing panic attacks because of work and waking up and feeling like I was going to be sick, and even to the point of um, intrusive thoughts about it's having to deal with intrusive thoughts about suicide and things like that. So I just came to a point where I was like, no job is worth that. It was a very scary decision. I didn't take it lightly. I knew it would worry and upset my parents who are elderly. My mum would be kind of uh, quite anxious person. She would be quite badly affected by stressful situations or situations where she thinks I'm putting myself in unnecessary risk. Um, she finds that hard to deal with, I suppose, like a lot of mums. And my dad has a history of heart disease, so obviously I didn't want to put them under undue stress. So I didn't tell them about that decision until the evening of Christmas Day. I told my dad, and then he informed my mum, and they did find it a worrying decision. Um, and so that was difficult. I really am a sort of person, partly because of my faith background and just as a general principle. I always like to be honest, and so I actually misled them into believing I was still at work before I came home to their house for Christmas, and then I had to admit that wasn't true, and that was incredibly difficult. And I suppose had a false idea that once I left my job I would be fine, but there was a lot of guilt to deal with, a lot of anxiety about what am I going to do now for money and things like that. I am in the process of being considered for a couple of jobs, but there's nothing certain yet, and the reality of not having money, um, or prospect of a wage coming in is quite scary. And when I look at what the government offers in terms of benefits, it's not even really enough to live on. So um, it's kind of frustrating, the way society is. I mean, I suppose if I was in charge, I would kind of have some kind of special alternative pay structure for people who are interested in the arts, so that If somebody wants to try writing, you can get some kind of wage for that from the government. Because you know that's one of the difficulties I think I've experienced of having a grammar school education and having kind of artistic temperament. It's taught me to appreciate so many things in life which don't necessarily have an immediate economic value, but they have inherent value. They have value of helping you appreciate the world and understand people, like English literature and Spanish and history and all these kind of brilliant things I studied and had really good teachers, but they don't necessarily bring you success in your career. And people don't always see the correlation of what they can bring to the world of work. It's also difficult being an introvert in work. I definitely believe there's an inherent bias against people who are introverts in work. And in my previous job, you would have seen people who I didn't think had necessarily as good knowledge as I had of what the role entailed and the expertise you needed, but they were better talkers at me and they were better at doing things that really weren't essential to the role, but were kind of in a sense sort of soft skills, like maybe good at organising charity events and things like that. And while it is good there are people like that, I think it's unfair that they tend to get preferential treatment. I'm also struggling with the fact that I'm on a waiting list to be tested for adult autism, and it's a 2-year waiting list. So, I mean, that could be impacting the way I work and the way I deal with some things in work, which has been incredibly difficult and may have been part of the reason I've been off sick so much. And unless you have £1,500 to do a private test, that's how long you have to wait. And some people don't even recognise the private test. So, I'm interested in politics, and I can't emphasise enough the need for the government, both here in Stormont and the local councils and at Westminster, and if we do end up in a United Ireland at some point, the whole health system needs to be totally overhauled and reimagined. They're going to have to really make a proper budget for mental health and maybe make it a separate issue in some sense where it has its own budget, because there is a time bomb, I think, ticking, especially in call centres, of people who are really stressed and having to ignore what their body's telling them about the stress levels to maintain their jobs and to keep a wage, and they're just further damaging themselves. I do hope to get back into reading this year. I didn't really get very many books read last year. I'm still reading some of the books I started in 2021, so hope to get back to that and talk more about books on here and things like that. But I just wanted to share about the job update and just how difficult that is, and sometimes decisions we feel we need to make for our own personal well-being have unintended consequences, and life is imperfect and complicated, and there are no perfect choices. Every choice we make comes with things that we won't necessarily like, and I think it's good to remember that. Kids are fed this idea of you can do anything you want and you can be anything you want, And especially in America with American Dream. Maybe there is more possibility of doing that there, but I don't really see that here. I would love to go back to university to study some kind of combination of history and English and Spanish. And I know I could potentially come out with very definitely a 2-1, if not a first. And that's not me being arrogant. I just know that I'm really good at those things. But I can't get a student loan to do that. And I think it's incredibly harsh that, somebody who really didn't know what he wanted to do at 18 and didn't have the confidence to challenge his parents' advice to stick out the degree I was doing, is kind of lumbered with jobs where I feel I've been stuck. But I don't want to sound I don't want to sound better about that or woe is me, but I do think there's a big argument to be made for the whole funding structure for university to be changed too, and helping people like me who university didn't really work out the way we expected or hoped to, especially people maybe with I definitely had undiagnosed mental health issues back then. High points of last year, just lots of the times I met up with my dad and family and things like that. I became an uncle for the fourth time, and our niece, so that was great too, and lots of really meaningful conversations with a group I have in church. Kind of, we support each other and help each other and are like a family to each other. And I know there are points that you can be critical about with relationship to faith and institutionalized religion, but at its best it does provide a good social network and a caring structure for people, especially people maybe who live on their own or don't have family nearby and things like that. So I have to give full credit to my faith community for that. So anyway, this was just a bit of a kind of jump on the channel, get a video uploaded, and a bit of a general ramble, but I hope there's some of the stuff that I've been talking about which has been helpful, and especially maybe some guys might watch this and think, well, it is okay to be open and honest about struggling with mental health issues, and here's somebody else who feels like I feel and I'm not alone. And feel free to leave some kind of a message on the comments, and I'll try and get in touch with you and give you some kind of encouragement. Obviously can't help everybody, but just to kind of say, look, you can keep going. When you suffer from depression and anxiety, there are some days where you just kind of think, I can't do this anymore. I can't cope with another setback, and you just feel totally exhausted and deflated. But then something good happens and it gets you back on track again. So it's just realising that life is a series of hills and valleys, of peaks and troughs as well. And as Churchill said, you have to just keep buggering on at times. I know that's not maybe a very nice word nowadays, but that's the way he put it, and I resonate with that. It's just a case of, you have to kind of grin and bear it at times, and whether that's through listening to music or reading books or praying, or there's so many different things that we can do just to kind of find that one little grain of hope to keep us going through the difficult times. Anyway, I'm Andy. This is Wonderful Wonder. Like and subscribe, share, comment, and as I say, I'm going to try and be more regular with this channel in the upcoming year. I appreciate anybody who takes time to watch, like and subscribe, comment, please do that. If you know anybody, especially other guys who are struggling with mental health issues, who you think might get some kind of help, or just even feel heard, or say, yes, that guy understands me, please share that with them as well. Okay, Happy New Year, and talk to you all soon.